504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Last Thursday, the Aggies defeated Texas State 41-7, and on this Saturday, the Aggies will be taking on the number one team in the country, the 12th-ranked Fighting Texas Aggies, taking on the Clemson Tigers on Saturday. 2:30 will be the kick in Memorial Stadium. 1:30 is when we'll get it started with our pregame show. That's presented by CHI St. Joseph. So glad to see all of you again this season and this evening. I'm Andrew Monaco. I know you're all here for this guy right here. How are you, Coach?
Doing well. How are you?
Great to be back with you.
It is great to be back over here. It really is.
All these familiar faces.
A lot of the same faces. Thank y'all.
Absolutely. Along the Aggie Radio Network, and we're on Facebook Live as well, streaming. We've got a couple questions for Coach already. And first and foremost to Coach, you get that win on Thursday against Texas State. What were your impressions after that game of this Aggies team?
I thought we were very professional in how we handled the game. I thought we got after it very well. I thought, offensively we moved the ball very well, got good balance. The lack of penalties was very encouraging. Guys were disciplined, getting in and out. No clock problems, no game management problems, most of that stuff. We did have 2 turnovers on offense, unfortunately. But, a little bit of that was when Kendrick hadn't practiced a lot, and we were concerned about that going in. And he had the guy got it out. Defensively, I thought we were outstanding, played the run very well. Then, of course, played the pass. Guys judged the ball, created turnovers, which was huge. We took advantage of them on offense, punted the ball well, kicked the ball well, and covered well. So I thought we had a very solid first game. A lot of little mistakes in there. Had some communication issues. When we had breakdowns as we got to the sideline, it was mainly from communication. Somebody had this, somebody had that, which, you got to get those kinks worked out in the game and things. But a very solid, as I say, workmanlike performance. And, there's still a lot of things to work on.
To a lot of the Aggies, they could not wait to hit somebody else in another uniform. It was
no doubt.
It was a tough camp, wasn't it?
It was very
because
tough.
Of the weather and the competition was terrific.
It was. We had a lot of those young guys come in here, and they didn't know they were freshmen. They were wanting to play, and they were wanting to get on the field, and our other guys were wanting there, so the competition became very good. And like I say, it was a very hot camp. It's been a very, very hot camp, and we practiced right in the middle of the day. We practiced right in the hottest part of the day and put them in it specifically because listen, you're going to create toughness, you got to practice tough. You got to live tough. You got to deal with adversity, and you got to go out and do it. And our kids handled it, and hopefully that'll continue to build, and we'll get stronger as the year goes on.
What was different in this second camp, Jimbo? Was it able to learn all that they learned last year and move forward? Because last camp, you had an entire team kind of learning about Coach Fisher and the staff.
Well, before the first camp, they didn't know they didn't know. They had a little spring, but they still didn't know they didn't know. This camp, they understood what to expect, how to expect it, and I think the upperclassmen helped those young guys adapt. And I think that's why you saw so many young guys adjust so quickly because of the older guys and the leadership on the team. And they understand the standard in which we want to play and we're achieving to get to.
I have asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again. That is how you build a culture, isn't it?
It is. There's a standard. When you have a culture, people say, what's the culture? All right, there's a standard of excellence. You got to meet that standard. The standard doesn't come to you. You have to go to the standard. You have to do it over and over and over again, no matter how you feel, what you think, what's going on that day, anything that happens. And if something changes, you have to change. You got to go higher. You got to raise your game. You got to do those things. And it has to be pressed upon you every day, and it can never be taken for granted that you can ever not meet that standard.
Can you have a culture if the student athletes don't buy in?
No, period. And that's one thing our kids have done and our leadership has done. If they don't buy in, we can say whatever we want. They have to go do it, and that's what we're working towards right now.
I love one of the things that you said during the coaches' nights as we went around the state is now all these upperclassmen teaching the freshmen, this is how we do it, right? That they only know one way
Exactly.
now.
So there's only one way when they get there. No one else knows another way. And not only the way we do it, the standard at which we do it with and the consistency in which we do it with.
That is Jimbo Fisher, and he's the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. AT&T is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. More for your thing. That's our thing. We will step aside for the first time and come on back to Rudy's. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. And this is Aggie football from Learfield, IMG College. 2nd and 6 from the Texas State 21 from the left hash. Fake to Corbin, Bond over the middle. That's complete, and that is the first Aggie touchdown of the season. Courtney Davis. Mon to Davis is how the scoring started as the Aggies defeated Texas State last Thursday by a final of 41-7. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. So glad you are with us. There are so many things to talk about, Coach. And you know what? Since we heard the highlight of Mond to Davis, Q is not the same receiver as he was younger. He is playing with a ton of confidence, isn't he?
He really is. He's a very talented guy. Can play a lot of different positions and run a lot of different combinations of routes, and has a very, very unique skill set that makes him very tough to handle.
He and Jamon Osborne tied for the lead in catches in that game. And I asked you about culture. I think there's a combination of leadership, and I use this word ownership, and Jamon Osborne wants to be the leader of this receiving
and he wants to own everything, and he takes responsibility for everything, and not only for himself, but to really influence it and put it on the other guys. He sure does.
I watch Jamon, I watch Jay Sean from the running backs, and I see Jamon takes the first rep every practice. I see Jamon, he's going to get that first carry, that first rep. They seem like they are the ones that set the tone. And if something, let's say someone messes up or something, they're the first to go over there and put that arm around their shoulder. When you have that coming from a teammate, that's invaluable, isn't it?
It's how the thing's got to run. I got to manage the team. They got to take care of the team. They got to make sure it runs the right way, make sure those things are taken care of. And you're never a great team till those things happen.
Jay Sean talked about on the 1-yard touchdown pass, all he did was tell Kellen, this is the play that we ran all summer. Let's run this right here. I love that kind of chemistry.
It is. I mean, you have to know guys. That's the thing. When you get to those games, you don't realize the amount of time and sweat that those guys have put together to read the body language, to read the steps and how the ball is going to be thrown, and know where to throw it by, how they stick their foot in the ground, and how they come out. Those things, they just take time. There's no easy way to do it.
So I'm going to make this a specific play because you mentioned this in the media availability, and I loved what you said, and I want the fans to understand it a little bit more. The 40-yard throw to Jamon when he's out at the 1, Kellen not only keeps that play alive, going to his left and a little off balance, throws a beautiful pass to Jamon. But you talked about Jamon makes that play full speed, and that is quite possibly the key to that catch.
Well, it is, and with the read that was in, we were working the other side of the field. And a lot of times you'll see guys that get lazy on a play, nevertheless. I know that because they know the coverages by what's going to happen, where the ball should go. But we also have the ability to read that, and you don't know how the defense is going to react or the quarterback can come back at you. And so he runs at full speed, never takes a play off. The pressure forced it. He finds him, directly gets it to him, make a big play. And I can say to all your kids, and you say, well, shouldn't they play full speed all the time? Yes, and everything they do. But do kids truly buy into that all the time? No, it doesn't happen. I mean, I've coached a long time, and it's something that you have to point out and address daily so it doesn't happen. And you get a guy like Jamon, and he gets rewarded for doing one thing, hustling, knowing it wasn't being selfless, opening up another receiver by the route, but because of the pressure, ball got to him.
He's not number 1 in that play, correct? He's not the number 1?
No, he was number 4.
Right. So if he slows down, that tells the defense
and some of the other guys coming over where his guy can slack back off and take it away. And like I say, sometimes you know it, but you can't go half speed because, one, they'll know when you're getting it, when you're not getting it by how you run the route, and 2, you doesn't open up your teammates. So there's a lot that goes into that.
Kellen Mond now as the number 1 quarterback. He battled last year in camp to be the number 1. Now he is. That doesn't mean he stops working, does it?
No, I mean, this guy is relentless in that pursuit. That's what I love about him. You love to coach him. He can coach him. You coach him hard. And he learns and he adjusts, he adapts, and he's learning the skill set to play. People say, what does he do well? Well, there's a lot of things. And there's no one thing that makes a great quarterback. It's an accumulation of things, of talents. And everybody has their own little way to do it. But he's understanding all those things and addressing those things, and he keeps growing every day.
You said that this team would go through a wall for him. That's a key sign for a quarterback.
Well, and now you're never the quarterback till they do that. Mm-hmm. I always say, when they go through hell for you, that's when you're the quarterback. That means they'll dive. It kills them when they get you hit. They'll go across the middle and make plays. They'll do whatever they have to do. The defense is going to get the ball back for you relentlessly, knowing that he's going to make something good happen, or he'll do whatever he can to make it happen. And that's out of respect. That comes from one thing: respect. That people just don't respect you. You earn respect, and that's by how he practices, how he carries himself, and everything about him.
The way he grew up and in his family, you're not surprised that he can take coaching, are you?
No. No, he grew up very hard, like I said, and as what I mean is hard in that he was made to do the right things. He has a great family, was brought up the right way with great values, and somebody getting on his butt a little bit doesn't bother him.
You had a chance to watch two 100-yard rushers. Jay Sean
Yep.
was your first, and another one of those guys doesn't look like a freshman when he runs the ball, but Isaiah Spiller with 100 as well.
Yeah,
A
they both
terrific
did.
run.
You know, Jay Sean does so many things for us, and how such a good football player he has become. And then Isaiah, in the big run, you see the potential, and like I say, there's still a lot of things he can clean up, which of course he should. But man, he's going to be a really good player. He's big. You don't realize how big he is. He's sneaky big, fast, can catch the football, can block. I mean, he can do everything.
And if I'm going to talk about your running backs, I got to talk about that number 5 back there, Bobby Brown III.
Yeah.
You went big back there, didn't you?
We did. You know, you got to move people on the goal line. You don't got to block people. You got to move people, and you need bodies that can create that push. And he does. And Bobby's such a good athlete and adapts and very smart. So we're going to use all of our guys every way we can.
I can just imagine what that Texas State defense was like when number 5 was back there. That had to be something when he's running at you.
If you really break down that film and watch now, he moved, especially on that touchdown run. He knocks some people backwards now.
We're talking about that defensive line. Jimbo, there's a play that stands out to me. It was a simple swing pass by Texas State, and there's Justin Matabike, and he's in the middle, and all of a sudden he's at the other sideline making that tackle. That's the quickness, the characteristics of Justin Matabike. He's going to be so much fun to watch.
He really
isn't he?
is. I mean, he has power, but he has such athleticism, and I say twitch. I mean, he's so sudden. He can run. He can change direction. That's why he has the power. You don't realize how big. He's kind of sneaky big because he's not a fat. He's built more like a skill guy, just in a big body. And, he can be one heck of a player, and he's playing really good right now.
That's just a tease on the defense. We're going to talk more about this defense, the 4 INTs by the Aggies. And, Coach, I'll ask you when we come back about having a second year under defensive coordinator Mike Elko, what a difference that can be. Texas A&M football is brought to you by Bud Light, proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics, reminding you to enjoy responsibly. We will continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road, and we'll come back. This is Aggie football from Learfield, IMG College. 3rd and 9 for the Aggies. Kellen spins to his left out of trouble. Looking downfield. He's got Jamon Osborne inside the 5 to the 1-yard line. That was the catch Jamon made from Kellen Mond. Got the Aggies to the 1. The Aggies the 41-7 win over Texas State last Thursday. Thanks for staying with us. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. Reminder, Gritty is an absolute game-changing provider of electricity. They're giving Texans access to wholesale electricity with no markups, all for a membership of just $9.99 a month. With the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. Coach, second year not only under you and this offense, but a second year under defensive coordinator Mike Elko. And I remember during the media day, the players and coach was talking about being disruptive. We saw a little bit of that against Texas State.
You have to create the negative plays, to create turnovers, to create, get guys behind the chains, to put them at risk, to have to do things, and do, makes it harder for them to pick up the third downs. And Mike understands it. He knows how to play the run, be very sound, but he also can be very disruptive with his blitzes. And even those little stunts in his games he plays inside. I mean, he's a complete football coach.
Leon gets the first interception. He keeps that one just off the grass. That was athletic. Ronnie Elam's was terrific, and Miles Jones with 2 of them.
He did. He had 2 and played the ball, and we got our hands on a few other balls in some situations. And you got to do that. You got to make plays on the ball. And, on defense, guys who have ball skills, your greatest defensive players, right? The hitters and all that's great. But the guys that can hit and also have ball skills, and when you have an opportunity to change the game when you get your hands on the ball, those are huge momentum things, and our guys did a great job of that.
You got some length on the back end, don't you?
You got to be able to tip balls, get balls, be able to jam, get your hands on guys. And the way the rules are in college, you can bump down the field. So if you do get fooled, you got the ability to get that hand out, bumps guys, and that length allows you to play.
If you told me that Damani Richardson was a freshman, I'd tell you you're a liar when I see him out there. He looks like he belongs, and I know Elijah Blades is the transfer, the JUCO transfer, but for 2 guys in their first games, well, they're impressive.
I thought they did. I thought, Damani at times, he, like he said, sometimes I act like a freshman. I said, you did, but you come on. And the way he had to get through that thing, he is a very, very talented guy. Such a conscientious guy and a smart guy. And Elijah is very talented. I mean, he can cover you. He can match you up physically, can run with you. He's going to be a really, really good player for us.
How happy were you to see Anthony Hines back on the field after an injury? And the same thing with Clifford Chapman.
Well, 2 things. One for Anthony, one for our sake. We need him, and he's playing very well. But 2 for his. I mean, that's such a hard thing to do. People have no idea the mental strain you go through and the frustration when you're at that age and what you love to do, and it's there. And you're not sure if am I ever really going to be back at the same level? Now, they have to trust it and go, but there's a lot of faith that has to go involved in that. There's a lot of trust, and he did it. He's an outstanding young man. And Chapman, great to see Chap back out there playing. And he's so long on special teams and things he does. He can be a really good player for us.
And the special teams, Jimbo, some teams are never quite sure what they're going to see. Those are the hidden yards in a game.
Yeah.
And when they can be solid, that's why you talk about all 3 phases, don't you?
You do. I mean, they control field position. When teams are having to drive 80, 90 yards consistently, they're not going to score a lot of points. And if they are, you ain't going to beat them anyway. It doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter what you're doing. But you win those battles, and you get it back, and it's 8 yards short, and all of a sudden that's a drive. And if that happens over a couple of series in a tight game, all of a sudden that leads to points for a field goal. Those hidden yards and the return yards. Tell you another thing. Paul doing such a great job of catching punts. Not just always returning, getting to them and getting his hands on where you don't have those rolls where they're rolling an extra 15, 20 yards. Those things are so the fundamentals of special teams. And we covered well, did a great job.
You do special teams very early in your practice, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the importance of it. Right off the bat every day, we do a special teams period. We do one in the middle, a little bit at the end. I mean, those guys are going to understand how important it is, and they're going to see the head coaches. And I think when the head coach emphasizes it, it really does make it important.
Braden Mann said one thing he wanted to work on was those types of punts that he had on Thursday. He wanted to pin teams inside the 20 and no touchbacks, and there you go. Once again, I know he's a Ray Guy Award winner, but he's not satisfied either. He wants to be better.
This guy's a relentless worker and such a tremendous competitor and a tremendous kid.
That is Jimbo Fisher. He's the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. Up next, the Fighting Texas Aggies taking on the Clemson Tigers. That will be on Saturday at 2:30, 1:30 with our pregame show presented by CHI St. Joseph Health. Football and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood. Rudy smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road in College Station, and we will come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield IMG College. just outside the goal line. The snap, Kellen, second back through, Corbin, right side, touchdown, Aggies, touchdown, Jayshon Corbin. He had a touchdown on the ground, touchdown through the air to Jayshon Corbin. Kellen Mond accounted for 4 of them in the Aggies' 41-7 win over Texas State. Thanks for staying with us. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're on Facebook Live. Anytime the camera's on, I'll find it. Here you go, Jimbo. Ready? First one. Of course, you know I'm going to say this one. Clarksburg, West Virginia. They're checking in. Yeah, they're making sure you're doing okay. We're taking care of them. Believe me. Thank you, Clarksburg. He's all ours now. That's the beauty. Ready? Chicago, Chattanooga, Reno, Columbus, Jacksonville. Left an impression after the Gator Bowl win, apparently. Nashville, Pittsburgh, Redding, California.
Wow.
Cochabamba, Bolivia.
Wow.
That's the leader right now.
There's Aggies everywhere.
There are Aggies everywhere. Just a terrific first game against Texas State. Now comes Clemson. I wanted to ask you this. While you were at Florida State, I was looking at the schedule. Did the conference, you used to play them in September, and then it moved to more like a November, October. Did the conference change that because of teams coming in? And what was it like to have to, I mean, I know you're playing them in week 2, but to have that as a September conference game?
No, it was, we were back and forth different times, and I don't know if it did because, you know, it became every year who won that game, won the league or won the national championship or whatever it may be. That was for all the marbles generally, and it was a big one every year. And I don't know if they moved it back for TV, being later in the year, later in the season when they wanted that game to be played. But you know, it was a huge game. There were some tremendous football games that went on during that run.
Jimbo, I look at their roster, and you must have recruited all those guys as well, didn't you? You know them.
Oh yeah,
you
know those guys at the highest levels, and the level of guys that we're recruiting now. There's, like I said, our class last year was number 3 in the country. We're having another great class. They've had another great class, and we all know the same guys in this. And they got real players. I mean, those guys are really good players and good people, and they're being coached well, and that's why they're a good football team. I'm
going to get off where you were going. I'm going to exit a little bit. You talk about that. Last year, you hit the ground running when it came to recruiting. This summer was a little bit different, and you're starting to get it rolling, aren't you?
Oh, we are. It's good, going really well. The class went well, and we're in great shape in this class coming up. We know some things that about where we feel going, some guys, and we're right where we want to be and getting the right guys and guys that we think we can, not only high character quality people, do we think we can win national championship with and represent Texas A&M in the best way possible.
You always talk about that helmet, right? It's the front porch of this university.
It is. I mean, there are 20 million people watching us play, and the way we represent ourselves and the things we do, we understand that responsibility in which we have, and everybody who puts a ring on, that have those Aggie rings on, wants to watch us, and we want to make them proud by how we do things and the way we do things.
When you have the character and the talent, that's a great combination.
It is. Well, it's the only way you can win a championship.
Right.
Listen, talent will win you games. Character will win you championships. You got to have both. You got to have the drive. You got to have. There's a special. Those guys that win championships consistently, listen, there's a lot of talented guys in this world, and the most talented guys don't win it.
Right.
A lot of times.
Also, another detour. Your guys who were drafted in the NFL and a couple more made those NFL rosters. You love not seeing them, right? Because that means they made a team.
Exactly right. I'm happy because their dreams come true. And, I mean, you know, when you recruit a young man, and he's sitting, when you start recruiting him, and you remember those first meetings and him telling you, you know, he wants to get a degree, but he wants to be an NFL player, and how can you develop me? How can you help me get there? And you watch their dreams come true, and for the families and everything, it's a lifetime achievement for not only them, but for all the loved ones and people in their past that help them get there. And it's so rewarding to watch those guys. And we've got a huge number that have made rosters this past year off our team.
I thought it was wonderful to see that. You just knew. I thought when they went to go meet with NFL teams, all those guys would just have to blow that meeting away. Like when they went to the NFL and met face to face, they have to be so impressive just to meet them. So you're thinking that's a kid that we want on our roster.
You do. I mean, those guys aren't. They're not paying you all that money. They can find guys everywhere. They're going to pay the right kind of guys who are, as I say, they're wired right. They think right. They understand selflessness. They understand work. They understand part of being on the team. And, you know, we always say the individuality of certain great guys in pro ball, and we all say that. That's the 1% of guys that you hear that. The true, most guys are all great guys who bust their tail, and they're tremendous players, and we had a bunch of those guys.
And also wonderful representatives of this university,
We're
right?
We're very proud of them and happy for them.
Absolutely. Back to Clemson in just a little bit. There's something to be said for a team that takes your best shots every single week.
Oh, yeah.
Teams like Clemson, teams like Alabama, that's what you want to be, right?
No, exactly right. And, we had that run when we were at Florida State. We won 29 in a row down there. Everybody in the world come after you. You're getting everybody's Super Bowl run. And that's what, you have to be. And that's part of being great. And that, that what keeps you on your edge to get better. And that's what we have to understand of how to play at that level. And I think we really are. I think we're comprehending that. And at times, especially at the end of last year, we did. And we did times at early. We have to do it with just a little more consistency. And I think true belief. And I think we have that.
Much more to come with the Fighting Texas Aggies, the head coach, Jimbo Fisher. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield, IMG College.
You're back.
The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Capital Farm Credits. Together, we're better. Proud to have them as a partner once again this year, the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road, with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. You just met him during the break, and of course, he's got to have the first question of the show. Ian Curtis asks, how do you go about incorporating a new recruiting class into the team?
Well, the good thing about it is a lot of these guys know each other, and because of social media, they're way ahead and know a little bit about the guys. But, you bring them in, you introduce them, and tell them they're part of our family, and you set them up with mentors, guys within our team. Each guy has a responsibility to help those guys, as I say, navigate the circumstances and scenarios that are about to come, and also to build that friendship with them so they can introduce them to the other guys. And there's a certain mentor group above that really, I think, absorbs that to really help those guys fit in.
And they have fit in beautifully. You talk social media. This was a team, Jimbo, that was off social media for camp.
Yeah, they were. That's
an impressive decision.
It is. Like they said, they didn't even realize how many hours You're talking an hour and a half, 2, sometimes 3 hours a day that those guys used to be on there. Now they're studying film, they're studying class, they're doing all kind of things. I say it's amazing what you can get done in a day when you quit looking at your phone. I mean, it really is. And I know sometimes people don't realize that, and even kids, they don't really realize how much it detracts from everything they do.
You know, I had no idea what was going on in the program because Leon O'Neal Jr., Wake 'em Up 9, wasn't
Yeah.
he?
He wasn't there. He wasn't telling everybody what was going on.
The attitude, he's another one. He was when he's practicing, there's an energy, there's an enthusiasm, there's a helpfulness. He's another one. You can't believe it's just the second year in this program.
Those guys you can tell that truly love playing football. Mm-hmm. They love it. The guys who like to they love everything that goes with it. You know what I mean? And you can't be a good football player if you don't like the grind. As I say, our motto is embrace the grind. I mean, that's everything that you have to do. Like in this job, everybody, you're the head coach. It's a wonderful job. Well, there's parts of my job that aren't real fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's things you got to do, and there's parts of every job that aren't fun. You have to embrace everything about not just playing football, but working out, watching film, training, doing all the things that go on. And until you learn that, you're never going to be as good as you can possibly be.
Was that an adjustment going from an assistant coach to a head coach? Some of the more of the responsibilities?
Well, no doubt. I mean, you're having to, as they enforce it, but you got to make people believe in it. I mean, and you can enforce it to a point, but like I always say, what are you doing when your parents aren't watching? What are you doing when your coach isn't watching? Or do you really buy into it? Do you do it? And that's what part of it is. And I think it's the only way you're going to have the success level that you really want, if that's what you really want, is to buy in.
Character is what you do when no one's watching, right?
Exactly.
But you also surround yourself. You make sure that you surround yourself with talented coaches, and you allow them to coach, don't you?
No, you do. Allow them to coach, but, you set a standard for how things are done, and if you see it, you adjust it. But at the same time, allow them to do their job. Let them do what they're going to do, and you got to have great coaches. Listen, those guys, there's a lot of folks it takes to run this organization.
Steve wants to know, how do you handle the heat and dehydration during practices and games?
I mean, you hydrate. Mm-hmm. We had very few IVs during camp, and we were right in the middle of the day, and I mean, grinding on those practices. We were today. Last 2 days have been very hot days. Listen, your body gets acclimated to what it's used to. All this guy, we hide them out, put them in cool weather. How are you ever going to learn to play in heat if you don't practice in heat? How are your body ever going to learn to go through that and understand it? And you understand how much you got to hydrate it, take care of it, how much you eat, all the things that go on. You put them in it, which causes the adversity, which makes you adjust. And we have a nutritionist, our health system, our strength conditioning coach, our trainers. Yeah. I mean, we monitor every day. We have a hydration thing that you check in on every day that I get a report on every day, daily.
Does it help that you have coached in the South and in this kind of heat?
No doubt. But you have to be careful at the same time. But, people, because people do have heat stroke, different things that go on. But you more often have them when you're never in it. When your body acclimates itself to it, it adjusts a lot better.
Yeah, and you can't dial up the weather this Saturday at Clemson, right?
It's going to be 90-something degrees and hot and humid, so we'll be used to it.
He is Jimbo Fisher, the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. We will continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield, IMG College.
Stand by.
Thank you.
Didn't the linebacker speed of receiver? I know.
Fans, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to send 12 fans on an away game trip to see Texas A&M play at Georgia. That's on November 23rd. To register for the 12th fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan-trip. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. As we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, it's presented by Capital Farm Credit with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. Your 12th man this year, Braden White.
Yes.
Well deserved, is it not?
Extremely well deserved. People say, why'd you pick him? I say, well, why not pick him? I mean, there's nothing ever, as I say, people don't, say nobody's perfect, but the way he carries himself as a person is he's a tremendous student, tremendous player. Our players love him. He's on our unit council, one of our leaders. He's going to be a tremendous Aggie after he's done, and he represents everything, I think, the core values of what Texas A&M and the 12th man is all about. He is a tremendous, tremendous human being.
You can stick him in at linebacker. You can stick him in special teams. He is going to give you absolutely – he leaves everything on the field, doesn't he?
And he does in every practice. You talk about embracing the grind. And I've never, ever, ever seen him take a play off in anything he's ever done since I've been here in a year and a half.
We were all worried last year, would you have enough depth at linebacker? And you told everyone, I have no problem putting Braden White in there.
No, I don't.
Whatsoever.
I mean, he can play, and he knows how to play. He's so smart. And, if he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he knows how to play. He gets faster because he can process the information, be in the right place. He's a tremendous player.
Jimbo, a lot of guys got their first taste of college football. A lot of guys got their first taste of Kyle Field. Now that first is there, does that help? I've always heard this from coaches, week 1 to week 2. Is the improvement that happens, does it happen a lot with freshmen and younger players?
They always say that, and I guess maybe that's true because the nerves, I think the nervousness kind of, as I say, it's always nerves, but maybe you get used to it and it goes away. But, hopefully we'll continue to get better each and every game. We're never going to be satisfied with how we play. So we got to get better each and every week, and we better get better quickly this week.
You talk about Clemson and all three phases. I'm always interested in watching that team play. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's not the same quarterback that we saw just in week 2 last year as he is
we're not
now.
the same team, and they're not the same team. And their players are too, but he's matured. What he went through and how quick he adapted is amazing. He can make all the throws. He can beat you, with his mind, his toughness, but he's also a great athlete. Beat you with his legs. Not a guy that size can't run like he runs and create the plays and toughness, and he's just a complete football player.
It's not just keeping a play alive, right? He can actually run that ball.
Oh, no. I mean, he can run. I mean, he is athletic as heck now.
Yeah.
Very athletic.
And we were talking about Kellen Mond and that escapability. What was interesting is Will Johnson was talking with Johnny Manziel on the sideline, and then you see, and no one could escape like Johnny could, but you see Kellen. I'm not saying they're the same, but I'm talking about that escapability to keep a play alive. Kellen is really, really good at that.
He does, and he does a great job of not just running, but keeping his eyes up, making throws on the run, getting the ball to where it has to go at the same time, and has a very good knowledge of what we're doing and a great instinct to play.
I thought one of the plays when he missed Jamon Osborne, and I don't really mean miss, it was an incomplete pass, but he missed where only Jamon, if there was going to be caught, it was only going to be Jamon. He didn't force it, lived to play another down, threw a touchdown pass, I believe, to Jay Sean right after that. And it reminded me of what you always say. Fans may say, oh, my gosh, that's an incompletion. He lived to play another down and then scored. If that's picked off, he never gets that opportunity.
We ran an option route. When Jamon broke it, he drifted upfield just about a half a yard. Well, the guy undercut him when he was going in the undercut. So we throw it outside. We get it. No one gets it. It's a very tough play. It's early down. So, as I say, we call it being aggressively intelligent. We want to play aggressive down there. We want to throw touchdowns. We don't want to be scared to throw it. But there's safe zones in which you miss in. How you miss high, low, outside, wherever it may be based off the leverage and the route that's called. And he understands that and did a great job of that.
And he also checked down, did he not? A lot of second, third, and fourth options.
Very much. Went and reading through progressions and coverage, immediately going backside to 4s and 5s immediately, which is, pre-snap as it's happening. And, just doing a really good job.
That's Jimbo Fisher. He's the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, who are 1-0 after their 41-7 win over Texas State last Thursday. We'll continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credits. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield IMG College. Thank you.
He turned it down because of one reason
You're
or
back.
another. They didn't make
AT&T is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. More for your thing, that's our thing. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road, here in College Station, with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, with Clemson up next on Saturday, the top-ranked Clemson Tigers. Surprised what they did to Alabama in the national championship game?
No, I mean, the game, if you watch the game, they took advantage of every mistake. They played perfect. They played like you're supposed to play. And I think they got better as the year went on. Alabama played so well early in the year. It's hard to maintain playing that well the whole time. And then if you really look at the game, there was 2 or 3 critical plays that swung it. And the score was not indicative, in my opinion, of how close the game really was. But then once it gets rolling, it's hard to stop. And they played really, really well and have a great team. And I'm not taking anything away. They played outstanding. They deserved everything they got. They had a tremendous football team. And they made the plays at the right time and understood how to win and do the things they had to do.
I like during Coach's media availability on Monday, he was asked if Clemson was a rival, and you said, yeah, Clemson, along with Florida when you were Florida State, and Miami. He said,
Yeah, they asked me if Clemson was our biggest rival, and I said, well, it was a big rival, but when you were there, Miami and Florida were also very big rivals, too.
You said, I don't like orange.
Yeah, anything orange didn't turn me on. Florida, Miami, and Clemson, so orange was not a good color for me.
That, and they brought up hurricanes, and I thought not only Miami hurricanes, but you had to deal with weather like that.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we dealt with about one a year. There was about a hurricane a year. A couple times we had 2. So, I mean, that was there, and unfortunately, a lot of families lose a lot doing that. And hopefully our prayers are with everyone in the Bahamas and everyone else where that thing is going and where it's moving to. And luckily, it didn't hit Florida. It kind of moved on out. So, hopefully that'll get better.
Don't always get that. Sometimes that state gets struck in opportune times. Back to this Clemson team, I was reading, and Dabo Sweeney was talking about he likes his back 7 on defense. He's got some good backers, and he's got some good defensive backs.
Oh, he does. 2 experienced redshirt senior, redshirt junior inside backers. Wallace, number 11, is one of the premier players in all of college football. 12 is phenomenal. 19, big, and 12 can run, he can cover, he can do things. 19, so physical and tackling. You don't realize how athletic he is and smart he is in play. It's Terrell, the corner is really good. The new corner 1 is an offensive player that's moved over, tremendous ball skills, quickness. I mean, they're really talented in that back end.
When we come back, we'll get the final thoughts from head coach Jimbo Fisher before their matchup with the top-ranked Clemson Tigers. That's when we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield IMG College.
You're back.
Final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. We can tell you that this copyrighted broadcast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield IMG College. Under the broadcasting rights granted by Texas A&M University, reuse of this presentation is prohibited without the express written consent of Texas A&M University and Learfield IMG College. Announcers are provided by Learfield IMG College and Texas A&M University. Coach, I ask you every time we meet in your office, what do you want to see on broken record time? What do you want to see on Saturday?
Well, I want to see a team, it comes with a great enthusiasm and energy and ready to play, has a lot of discipline in its effort and its execution, that controls the lines of scrimmage and plays very physical and plays a brand of ball that competes very hard and puts itself in a position to be successful and allows itself to be successful and doesn't get scared of being successful.
That's a key, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you say you want to do it, but don't be. If you work hard and you put things in place when you're in that game and you're reacting, don't be surprised when good things happen to you.
You also mentioned there are going to be big plays. It's how you react to them, don't you?
Listen, we're going to make big plays and get excited. We can't get too excited. Move on. They're going to make plays. They've got a good team, too. They're on scholarship. They're ranked number 1. I mean, they're going to make plays. It's how you adapt to those things, minimize the damage, and be able to go play the next play. And you got to compete in the game. This is going to be a game of resilience but discipline, in my opinion. Who can really believe in what they're coached to do and how to do it and do it over and over and over.
Games like this is why student athletes come to Texas A&M.
Oh, no doubt.
Correct?
That's why you want to play in these games. You want to be relevant. You want to play it somewhere that matters, and we got a tremendous opportunity in front of us, and we need to take advantage of it.
When you grow up and you say you're going to win the World Series, you're always beating the Yankees or someone, right?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, and whoever's up there, and you got to put yourself there. And like I say, don't be surprised when you are there.
Right.
And then you expect to be there, and that's why you practice and do the things you do, and we practice and do the things in our organization the way we do them.
No better way to kick off the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show than tonight. Thank you, Coach. Beat the hell out of Clemson.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for everyone being here.
He is the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. That is Jimbo Fisher. We can tell you that coming up on Saturday, we will have our CHI St. Joseph Health pregame show. That will come your way at 1:30 and then 2:30. It is the Fighting Texas Aggies and the Clemson Tigers. That will be the kickoff, and that's all along this Aggie Radio Network. Hopefully you will join us, Dave Elmendorf, Will Johnson, and I. Time to tell you that our engineer here at Rudy's is Kevin Menchel, and Abby Klatt is the producer in our Learfield IMG College studios. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. This has been the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credits from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. We will talk to you on Saturday at 1:30, kickoff at 2:30. I'm Andrew Monaco for Jimbo Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield IMG.